right. Hey guys. I didn't think the last video that I did on the check writing assignment was very good, so I'm gonna redo it. I can't sleep. I don't know if anybody's still working on this assignment, but why not? Okay, so I'm gonna go over how to write a check real quick, how to fill in that weird little stub next to it, how to do the math in that stub, and then why you need to carry over the balance to the next check. And let's just review this page really quick. So if you're in the medical clinic and they're still writing paper checks, they'll probably be in like a massive like book-sized book. You'll have a big page like this. You'll have a perforation between the stub and each check, and then each check will also have a perforation separating it from the other checks. And that way, when you're writing a single check for a supplier or something, you can just tear it off for them after you finish it, but you also have a spot to record information about this particular check so you don't forget what it was for, who you paid, how much it was, what date you actually paid. And then this area is for figuring out how much money is in your bank account, so you can keep track of that. And then you have this information for when you go ahead and write your next checks. I don't know how many people still write physical checks. I still write them for when I'm like getting a new apartment and stuff, because I guess landlords like paper checks or something. But apparently I'm a dinosaur because I only started using electronic checks when I moved here in 2015. Alright, so in these checkbooks, they're not going to have the check numbers in them. You have to write them in there. And that's because sometimes you mess up a check, or you want to carry check numbers over from like another like volume that you've been using. For this example, I'm going to use 201. If I were to be starting completely from scratch, probably use 101. Usually I just add 1 to the number of the check right before this. So right in the example here that I have for myself, we're going to be using this yellow bar right here. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. We're going to pretend it's March 1st, and we're writing a $400 check for 3M Medical Supply. So we can go ahead and write the date, and then this is where we write the name of the person that we're going to pay. And then on this line we write the amount that we're paying in numbers. And on this line we write the amount that we pay in words. And if you have space left over on this line, if this is an actual physical check, you're going to want to write a line through the remaining slots because you don't want anybody messing with your check afterwards. And then you go ahead and sign on the line. So that's how you fill out the check. Now we go ahead and fill out information about the check in the stub. So we carry over our check number and we type in the amount that the check was for, and the date we wrote the check, the person that we're paying, and if we want to remember what we're paying them for, you write it down there. Maybe you're buying more gloves or something. And then you're going to write your initial balance on this first line right here. If this is a new book, you would probably get that balance from your latest bank statement. But for this example, I'm just going to say that I have $2,000 in my bank account when I'm writing this check. And in this example, I'm not going to say, well, yeah, let's go ahead. Let's say I deposited $500 in my bank account that day. I won't go over the math here. I'll do it in the next one. And then in this slot, we write how much we just wrote this check out to 3M. All right, time for some little formulas. Let's take a quick look at this guy right here. This first line is going to be, this first line is your initial balance when you're starting to write the check. Any deposits you make that day go there, and then you add it up right here. So if we were to write it out in a little phrase that makes sense, we would write initial balance plus today's deposits equals our temporary balance. So if we were to do the math, that would be $2,000 plus $500 equals $2,500. And that's our temporary balance. So that number will carry over to here. And we can write that in here so we remember what we're doing. Now we need to calculate the final balance for this check. We're going to take the temporary balance from this line and subtract the amount that we wrote this check out for. So once we subtract the amount that we wrote the check for from the temporary balance, we get the final balance. So that math would look like $2,500 minus $400 equals $2,100. And then we can come down here and write it. So this is what your stub will look like once you're done writing that check. Okay, time to integrate everything we just learned. I put together a little example here that is similar to your assignment but not exactly the same, so it feels relevant, but you'll still get to try it yourself. I have some checks here that we write. We have one on March 1st to 3M Medical Supply. We have one on March 15th for petty cash. And then we have two on March 18th, one for rent and one for utilities. I also have some deposits right here. We have one on March 15th, so these two are on the same day, and we have one on March 18th, so these are the same day. So we'll see how to put those together in a minute. And these are color-coded, so you can see I carried this table over here so we don't have to go back and forth 1,000 times. But this date will be yellow, our second date is green, and then we have blue and purple for March 18th, and the deposits also have similar colors. All right, first day. It is March 1st, and I'm writing a check to 3M Medical Supply. I start with my check number, I write the date, I write who I'm writing it to, and I write my amount from here. Then I write it out in words down here, and you sign it. You're going to come up here and record some information about the check I just wrote. Check number 201, this was for $456.12. This is March 1st. In our imaginary world, 3M Medical Supply, and I get to do some math. So if you remember, I said we have $2,000 for our initial bank balance. And then we had no deposits for this day, so we don't need to write anything here. We can just go right on down here. This check was for $456.12. And then if we subtract the amount of the check from the initial balance, that is going to be, let's see, $1,553.88. Hi, kitty. Hi. You're being very sweet. I know, you want to come up. Now I have my final balance. That final balance is going to be carried down to the next check, so I can go ahead and write that right now. So that was the first check up here. This is the second check. This number comes down to be here. All right. Time for check number 2. We just finished our March 1st check, and now we are doing our March 15th check. I'm going to look at my previous check number and just add a 1 to it, so that's 202. The new date is March 15th. And I'm writing this for petty cash. This is what I did for my assignment, and I passed. I don't know if this is correct. I think I got that information from the textbook, so don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure this is what you're supposed to write. So just write petty cash in the slot where you write who you're writing the money to, and then you write your amount. Time to fill in information about our check. Our check was for $50. Today is March 15th, and this is for petty cash. So we actually do have a deposit for today. If we look back over to our box, we have a $2,500 deposit for March 15th. So I will add this number to this number, and that gives me, let's see, $4,043.88. So this is my temporary balance right there. I write the amount that I just wrote on the check, $50. And I subtract my amount of the check from my temporary balance. And that gives me $3,993.88. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh no. My cat wants me to go to bed. Okay. Next check. We wrote March 1st already. We wrote March 15th. And now today is March 18th, and I want to write my check for my rent. I look at the last check number, I add one to it. So it's 203. I write today's date, which is March 18th. And then I write the name of my property management company. My rent is $1,567.22. Fill in the spot with the information about the check you just wrote. So that was $1,567.22. Today is March 18th. This is to Red Oaks. And I can write rent here if I like. We look at the last balance from the last check. We carry it over as our initial balance. We have another deposit from this day. On March 18th, we have a $820.43 deposit. And then I add these two up, and I get $4,814.31. The amount that I just paid my landlord is $1,567 and let's see, 22 cents. And I subtract my check amount from my temporary balance. And I get a final balance of $3,247.09. And I'm going to go ahead and take that final balance and write it in my last check for the initial balance. All right, time to write our final check. It's still March 18th, but this time we're writing a check for $98.87, and we're writing this to Boston City Light. And since we already wrote our deposit in our last check over here, we do not need to worry about that anymore. We're done with our deposits. I look at my last check, add one number to it, 204. It's still March 18th. I'm paying Boston City Light. My bill is $98.87. And I fill in that spot with information about my check. I only had the one deposit for this day, so I don't write anything else unless another deposit was made on this day after I finish this check up here. I write the amount that I wrote on this check, and I subtract the amount of my check from my balance, and I get, I get 3968.65. All right, and that is how you complete a page of checks. Okay, well, if you have any questions about any other assignments, let me know. I might make a video on posting charges and payments to a patient's ledger, and then how to post an adjustment to that ledger. All right, happy studying, folks.